I'll be talking about the facts and importance of bees and pollination. So, why are bees so important? Well, a recent study published by a scientific journal showed that only 2% of wild bee species contributes to 80% of global crop pollination, which humans rely on for food. This means that if this 2% of bees disappear, then 80% of our agricultural system will collapse, drastically changing our diets and leaving many people in hunger. Another fact that is 70 of the top 100 crops in the world rely on pollinators like the honeybee, which is equivalent to 90% of the world's nutrition. Without bees, we would never be able to eat foods such as apples, almonds, oranges, and other fruits or vegetables that rely on pollinators. Around the world, about 850 million people are starving from lack of food. So the last thing we need is for bees to go extinct, and so it is vital that we do our jobs to help the bee population continue to grow. We all know that bees are pollinators, and so are butterflies, birds, bats, moths, beetles, and many other animals. However, bees are arguably the most important pollinator we have in our ecosystem. Pollination happens when pollen grains transfer from a male part of the flower to the female stigma, which is the female part of the flower. This is to create offspring for the next generation, reproduction, and there are several ways of how male flowers transfer pollen to the females, including wind, water, and pollinators. Usually pollination happens unintentionally through pollinators, as they intend to visit flowers for its food and nectar, but pollen grains attach to its body, and then fall off when the animal reaches another flower.
So you can see that this is what the inside of the hive looks like. We're taking off the lid here, and then now you can see inside. You can see all the frames. There aren't too many bees out right now because it's pretty cold out, so they're trying to conserve the heat and keep it down in the bottom. So now you can see we're a little further down in the hive, and there are more bees now because it's warmer down here, and they're trying to stay warm. They're not flying around too much because of the temperatures out right now, but there's still a little bit of activity. So now you can see that this gray sheet that we're taking off, that is the queen excluder, and it keeps the queens out of the area where the worker bees are working. You can see they're all in there, and that just makes sure that the queen doesn't go in and lay eggs in areas where she isn't really supposed to be. You can see that there's a little more activity down here because most of the bees are in this area because it is warmer down there. So now you can see that this is the bee suit that you wear when you go out on the roof, and you can see that it covers your whole body. When you're doing beekeeping, you do want to wear closed-toed shoes so that the bees can't get in. And then that black part at the top is a veil that covers your face. And then the hat obviously goes on top of your head. And then also you need to make sure that you have all the zippers and Velcro tightly closed so that there's no way that any bees can get inside the suit. So next I'm going to show some of the tools that you use. This first one is a frame grabber. So you put that down on the frame and then you can use it to lift them out if they're stuck in. And then the red one you use to pull boxes apart or get frames out because they are sealed with the propolis that the bees make, which can make it really tough to get out the frames. Then this is the smoker, which most beekeepers use, and you put sticks or newspaper or some kind of thing inside it, and you light that on fire, and then you can push the smoke out onto the bees, which will help them stay calm while you're working with them. And then this is called the bee brush, and you can just use it to brush bees off frames if you're trying to bring the frames inside, or also.
One of the honeybee's worst enemy is called a Varroa mite. The parasite transmits diseases through the bee's brood and by sucking on their blood. The Varroa mite spreads from hive to hive through contact with bees from other colonies. They can wipe out a whole colony of bees. There aren't many treatments yet to fully get rid of mites, but this is one method we did, which was an alcohol wash method. We took a frame from one of the top boxes because there is less activity to do the test on. One of the first things we made sure to do was check for the queen bee. Then we scooped the bees off the frame and tried to gather them into the container. You should have around 300 bees or half a cup. Then, you shake the container and the mites should fall to the bottom if there is any. If you have more than 3 mites per 300 bees, you should definitely treat.
Oh, so that's actually, there's one right here, this little red thing here. But
when spring arrives, bees have a special process called swarm season. During this time, half of the hive will leave with the original queen bee to find new places to build hives. They typically do this because of space and to keep their population steady but still growing. They travel in clusters and cause no harm because they have no hive or offspring to defend. You can find them on trees, benches, buildings, houses, and anywhere. If you do see a large gathering of bees, don't call an exterminator or use insect killer. Simply call a beekeeper so they can find a new home for them.